Ladies and gentlemen, life has a way of testing us not in the loudest moments, but in the quiet ones. Not when someone is shouting in our face, but when they suddenly pull back, withdraw, or disengage. That silence can feel heavier than words. It can stir frustration, doubt, even anger inside us. And yet, it is in that very moment, when someone disengages, that we are given the rare chance to lead ourselves with calm, strength, and clarity. Tonight, I want to talk about how you can handle those situations with power, without losing your peace, and without giving away control of your emotions. Because real influence, real confidence, doesn't show up in how we react when someone is engaged with us. It shows up in how we carry ourselves when they aren't. Your response to disengagement defines your strength, not their silence. Think about that for a moment. When someone disengages from you, whether it's in a conversation, a relationship, or even in a professional setting, the natural human instinct is to immediately take it personally. We interpret their silence as rejection, as disrespect, or as a sign that what we said doesn't matter. And when those emotions start rising, the temptation is to react in the same energy, to push harder, to demand answers, to match their withdrawal with frustration or anger. But here's the truth: the measure of your strength isn't revealed in the moments when everything is going your way. It is revealed when you are faced with the silence of others, and you choose not to let it steal your peace. Disengagement can feel like a wall that suddenly separates you from the other person. It might be a friend who stops responding, a colleague who tunes out during a meeting, or a loved one who shuts down in the middle of an important conversation. That wall is uncomfortable. It makes you want to break it down, knock louder, push your way through. But strength is not about forcing that wall to fall. Strength is about deciding what you will do on your side of the wall, because their silence belongs to them, but your response belongs to you. When we encounter disengagement, we often start asking ourselves the wrong questions. We wonder, what did I do wrong? Why are they ignoring me? How do I get them to pay attention again? Those questions fuel insecurity and frustration because they place your worth in the hands of someone else's behavior. A stronger approach is to flip the questions. Instead of asking why they pulled back, ask yourself, how can I remain calm in this moment? How can I show maturity here? How can I communicate that my emotions are mine to control? That shift is powerful because it reminds you that the strength of your response defines the outcome of the moment more than their silence does. Think of the people you admire most in life. They are rarely the ones who explode at the slightest sign of resistance. They are rarely the ones who beg for attention or validation. Instead, they are the ones who carry themselves with composure. They understand that when someone disengages, it's not an automatic command for them to lose their balance. They have learned to remain grounded, unshaken, steady. That steadiness is not weakness. It's the highest form of strength. Now, let's talk about why silence feels so threatening in the first place. Human beings crave connection. When someone pulls away, it touches a deep part of us that fears abandonment or rejection. That fear can create urgency. We want to fix the gap instantly. But when urgency takes over, we lose clarity. We might say things we regret, push harder than we should, or create even more distance. Recognizing that your fear of disengagement is natural but not controlling is key. You cannot stop the initial sting of silence, but you can decide how long you let it dictate your behavior. Strength in these moments looks like patience. It looks like saying to yourself, I don't need to fill every silence. I don't need to chase every disengagement. I am enough, even if they pull away. That kind of internal dialogue protects you from reacting impulsively. It also sends a subtle but undeniable message to others: you cannot be easily shaken. And when people see that, they begin to respect you differently. Not because you demanded their attention, but because you showed self-respect in the face of their absence. Another part of strength is understanding what disengagement really is. It isn't always rejection. Sometimes it's exhaustion. Sometimes it's overwhelm. Sometimes it's the other person's own struggle that has nothing to do with you. But if you rush to take it personally every single time, you carry a weight that was never yours to hold. By separating their silence from your self-worth, you free yourself from a cycle of frustration. You remind yourself that their disengagement is a reflection of their state, not your value. That's a powerful shift because it keeps your strength intact regardless of what they choose to do. There's also a lesson here about timing. When someone disengages, it is often not the best moment to push harder. Strength is knowing when to step back, when to give space, and when to hold your words until they can be received. Weakness rushes in with urgency. Strength waits with wisdom. Weakness tries to force resolution in the heat of the moment. Strength recognizes that clarity comes when emotions settle. By choosing patience, you are not losing the conversation. You are preserving your composure and creating space for a healthier interaction later. Imagine two people in a conversation. One suddenly pulls back, crosses their arms, or looks away. The other person notices. Now, in that split second, the second person has a choice. They can react with frustration, snapping, "Why are you ignoring me? Don't walk away from this conversation." Or they can take a breath, acknowledge the shift, and calmly say, "I can see you're not in the place to continue this right now. That's okay, we can pick it up later." That second response requires strength. It doesn't mean the conversation isn't important. It doesn't mean the disengagement doesn't sting. It means that the second person values their peace and clarity enough to pause rather than lose themselves in the heat of the moment. Strength is also about consistency. If your response to disengagement changes every time, calm one day, explosive the next, you send mixed signals. But if you consistently choose calm, consistently choose patience, consistently choose self-control, then people know what to expect from you. Over time, this builds trust. They realize you are not easily manipulated by silence or withdrawal. You become the steady presence in the room. And that steadiness, once again, defines your strength. Some might argue that staying calm during disengagement looks like indifference. But there's a difference between not caring and choosing not to overreact. You can care deeply about the conversation, you can want resolution, but still choose to guard your reaction. That's not apathy. That's strength wrapped in discipline. True strength is rarely loud. It's quiet, controlled, and deeply rooted in self-respect. Think also about the ripple effect. Every time you respond with strength to disengagement, you are teaching the people around you how to handle similar moments in their lives. Your children watch how you carry yourself. Your coworkers notice how you manage pressure. Your friends see how you navigate conflict. You might not even realize it, but your strength becomes a model, and that's what influence really is. It's not about forcing people to listen when they disengage. It's about inspiring them by how you handle it. And here's something else to keep in mind. Disengagement is often temporary. People come back. Conversations reopen. But the way you respond in the silent moment lingers. If you lose control, the memory of your reaction may last longer than the silence itself. But if you show strength, patience, and composure, then when the moment passes, what remains is respect. Respect for your ability to rise above the urge to react emotionally. Respect for your ability to protect your own peace. Respect for the quiet strength you chose when it would have been easier to explode. This is why your response defines you more than their silence ever could. Because silence passes. People re-engage. Life moves forward. Conversations continue. But your response becomes part of your character. It becomes part of your identity. Each time you choose calm over chaos, strength over impulse, patience over urgency, you are building a version of yourself that cannot be shaken by silence. And that is the essence of real strength. Control the only thing you truly own, your reaction. It's one of the simplest truths in life, and yet one of the hardest to live out. When you think about it, almost everything around you is out of your control. You can't control how people treat you, how they speak to you, how they interpret your words, or whether they choose to engage or disengage. You can't control the weather. You can't control the traffic. You can't control someone else's attitude when they walk into the room. But what you can control, what you always have ownership over, is how you choose to respond in the middle of it all. That is the space where your power lives, and that is the space where your true strength is proven. Reactions are powerful because they set the tone. In a heated situation, two people may face the exact same challenge, but one allows frustration to control them, while the other remains calm and thoughtful. The circumstances are identical, but the outcomes are completely different, not because of what happened, but because of how they reacted. Your reaction can either escalate chaos or create calm. It can either shut doors or open them. It can either make you smaller or make you stronger. And that decision is always in your hands, no matter what anyone else does. When someone disengages, when someone ignores you, or when someone pushes your buttons, the temptation is to hand over control of your emotions to them. You feel like you're left with no choice but to mirror their behavior. They pull away, so you push harder. They disrespect you, so you snap back. They bring chaos, so you let chaos spill out of you in return. But that mindset is a trap. It places your emotional state in someone else's pocket. It gives away your power to the very person who is trying to pull you off balance. And once you start giving that control away, you begin to lose your peace, your confidence, and your ability to lead yourself through hard moments. The person with real strength is not the one who controls others. It's the one who controls themselves. Anyone can lose their temper. Anyone can let emotions run wild. Anyone can say something in the heat of the moment that they regret later. That doesn't take strength. It takes zero discipline. But the person who can feel the emotion rising, feel the sting of silence or disengagement, and still pause, breathe, and choose their words carefully, that person is demonstrating mastery over themselves. And that is the kind of mastery that inspires others. There's a difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is instant. It's impulsive. It's the unfiltered emotion that comes out without thought. Responding, on the other hand, is intentional. It takes a moment of pause. It takes awareness. It takes strength to not give the first feeling in your chest the final word in your mouth. That space between what happens to you and what comes out of you, that's where growth happens. That's where self-respect is built. That's where trust in yourself is strengthened. Control doesn't mean suppressing every feeling. It doesn't mean pretending you're not hurt, frustrated, or disappointed. It means you acknowledge those feelings, but you don't let them drive the wheel. You can feel anger without letting anger make your choices. You can feel sadness without letting sadness dictate your words. You can feel ignored without letting that feeling push you into saying something desperate or damaging. Control is not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to lead your emotion. When you consistently choose to control your reaction, people begin to notice something different about you. They see that you don't rise and fall based on the moods of others. They see that you can walk into a storm and still carry yourself with composure. That steadiness earns respect even from those who disagree with you. Because deep down, people trust the ones who can control themselves more than the ones who are controlled by every passing emotion. Think of every conflict you've ever seen escalate out of control. Almost always, it started with a reaction that matched the other person's energy. One person disengaged, the other overreacted. One person raised their voice, the other raised it louder. One person got defensive, the other got more defensive. Back and forth until both walked away frustrated. Now imagine if just one person in that scenario had chosen to control their reaction. Imagine if one had taken a breath, lowered their tone, and said, "I can see you're upset. Let's pause for now and revisit this later." That simple decision could have changed the entire outcome. That's the power of reaction. That's why control over it is priceless. Control is also about protecting your peace. When you allow someone else's disengagement or negativity to dictate your state of mind, you give away the calm that you've worked hard to build. But when you guard your reaction, you're not just protecting the moment. You're protecting your mental clarity, your emotional energy, and your future decisions. Peace doesn't come from everything around you being perfect. Peace comes from you deciding that no matter what happens, you will lead yourself with strength instead of letting circumstances lead you. This principle applies in every area of life. In relationships, your ability to control your reaction prevents small issues from turning into irreparable damage. At work, it allows you to handle stress and conflict with professionalism that sets you apart. In friendships, it builds trust because people know you won't turn volatile when things get tough. Even within yourself, controlling your reactions creates self-respect because you begin to see yourself as someone who can be trusted to stay composed no matter what comes your way. It's not easy. Controlling your reaction is one of the hardest skills you will ever build because it goes against your instincts. Your instincts tell you to fight fire with fire, to defend yourself immediately, to not let anyone get away with ignoring or disrespecting you. But wisdom says otherwise. Wisdom says control is more powerful than chaos. Wisdom says that a calm presence in a heated room carries more influence than the loudest voice. Wisdom says that silence, patience, and composure often speak louder than any quick reaction ever could. Every time you choose to control your reaction, you're training yourself. You're building a habit. And just like any other skill, the more you practice, the stronger you get. At first, it may take every ounce of your energy to stay calm in a difficult moment. But over time, it becomes natural. Your first instinct starts to shift. Instead of immediately reacting, your mind starts to pause, assess, and then respond with intention. That shift is life-changing because it gives you freedom. Freedom from being controlled by your impulses. Freedom from being manipulated by someone else's behavior. Freedom to live in alignment with who you want to be, not just how you feel in the moment. And that's the key. You always have a choice. No matter how someone disengages, no matter how someone speaks to you, no matter what happens, your reaction is yours. It cannot be taken from you unless you hand it over. And when you remember that, you stop feeling powerless in difficult situations. You start realizing that while you can't control them, you can always control you.